she was talking, and I think it was this morning, I saw it today anyway, about what the government is doing on climate change. She was talking about how they're focusing on climate change, and she was questioning whether it was the right time to do that. So here's Kerre Woodham off Newstalk ZB.
When households are struggling to put food on the table and petrol in the car, is climate change the most important and meaningful area for the government to focus on, to yank society into a completely different direction?
For fuck's sake.
I know climate change is important, but only because I've been told so time and time and time again.
What?
And because businesses and agencies and governments...
I wonder if she knows if like smoking causes cancer only because she's been told time and time again. I wonder if she's done her own research and like, paid for her own samples but it's a good way to minimize an argument. Like someone's told me so many times, it doesn't mean much. Keep going, listen.
And councils are making big decisions around climate change that impact on me. Insurance premiums cost more, food costs more, fuel costs more, all because we are told we have to mitigate against our carbon emissions.
So the beautiful thing that she just did is the we are told. Money's going up and we're told it's for this. She's not, because the truth is it's going up because of this, not because we're told about this. It's because of this. And there's a massive difference. One gives you the ability to question things like the science and the other one doesn't. So we're having to do this because they say we have to, or we have to do this because if we don't, we're fucked. It's a really dismissive way. We've got more. We're going to keep going.
And when I was trying to read the Herald piece to understand what the government cutting emissions would mean to you
Reading's
and me,
hard.
there were so many numbers and letters, it was almost incomprehensible.
Numbers and letters.
As an example, this is one paragraph. While the allowance lifts slightly over the second period to 305 MTCO2E between 2026 and 2030, it's still calculated to be about 20% less than what the country pumped into the atmosphere in the 5 years to 2021. The third 240 MTCO2 budget for 2031 to 2035 represents a 35% cut. How does that make any sense to anybody? I'm trying to understand it. I want to understand it. And it makes no sense to me at all.
Because, maths is hard. I'm just thinking, there was that Barbie in the 1950s, and you'd pull the string on the back and it would go, maths is hard. So I've got more to say on this, Penny. If you want to jump in first, you're more than welcome, but I want to take us somewhere with it.
It's just astonishing to me too, just around that, we're going to be spending money on this. It's like, how much does it cost to relocate an entire town, right? Sports relocation cost is a direct climate change situation. So it's the prevention is often better than the cure. Are we going to move the entire country inland a few kilometers? That's going to cost $1 or $2 that might yank her in a direction that she isn't looking at her St. Mary's Bay view that she likes or what have you. I don't know. I just find that pretty short-sighted, desperately short-sighted.
I also wonder, she is in Leighton Smith's old time slot. I wonder if a part of the conversation is maybe just, giving something back to his old listener that maybe he wanted to. But here's the thing, So here's the article she was talking about.
Yeah.
And here's the paragraph she was talking about. While the allowance lifts slightly over the second period, yada, 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 yada. And she literally said too many numbers, too many letters. But the two lines before it, which she didn't read, says this. Over the first period out to 2025, the government wants to keep emissions to around 290 megatons of CO2e. Now, you see that little thing there that she was questioning?
Yeah.
And the line before it explains what it is. 290 megatons of CO2e, which is referred to as MTCO2e. So it explains what it is. MT is megatons, C megatons, CO2e. It's obviously carbon dioxide. Now, I thought E was probably emissions, but I be honest, I didn't know. Do you know what I did? I Googled it. Yeah. And the first result, carbon dioxide equivalent, or CO2e, the number of metric tons of cut CO2 emissions with the same global warming potential as one. So it didn't take very long to figure out, A, what MTCO2 stood for, because it said it in the line before, and what the E actually was as well. So now, if Kerry's watching, maybe we could just reread it for her and take out the big hard letters and numbers and put in the words for her. While the allowance lifts slightly over the second period, the allowance of carbon dioxide lifts slightly, That's 305 megatons of carbon emissions. See there, it's got there. Between 2026 and 2030, it's still calculated to be about 20% less than what the country pumped into the atmosphere in the 5 years to 2021. I mean, even if you didn't quite get to grips with all these hard letters and numbers, it says pretty clearly that the emissions we're talking about is 20% less than the previous area to 2021. I kind of wanted to play it because I don't know whether she is really that stupid or she's playing a game for her audience. And if she is, it becomes completely inauthentic. And if it's inauthentic, it's the worst kind of broadcasting, in my opinion. Now, okay, it was a bit harsh. If she's really that stupid, I guess I don't want to be too harsh. I'll say if she really doesn't get it, when actually the answers are in front of her and one Google search away, and then you'd understand it 100%.
Well, I think it's a whole different thing. Whereas what I've taken from what she said before is that she just doesn't care enough to try because she doesn't think it applies to her. Because it's a bit hard to understand if you haven't really got, I mean, like, it can be, sometimes I look at things like that and blur a bit because I just trust the science though. That's the thing. I'm like, this is bad. You people are doing the things that we need to do to make it better. And I will trust the scientists to know the minutiae rather than me just deciding because I find it boring and tedious that it's not true, which to me, I don't think it's a completely stupid thing from that. I just think it's like, I just can't be fucked. So I don't care anymore. That's what I took from her tone.
Yeah. Anyway, too many numbers, too many letters.
Yeah. Wow.
Not entirely sure what to do about that.